A police sergeant came home through a Minnesota snowstorm, expecting only silence. Then a faint sound rose from a gray bin beneath his porch. Inside were 3 German Shepherd puppies, soaked, freezing, and far too young to be alone. The smallest one barely moved, but still found the strength to rest his chin on the officer's hand. By morning, 2 men with a rescue logo came asking for the puppies. But one tiny cent on a business card told the officer this was not a rescue story at all. If this story touches your heart, share your own meaningful memory with an animal you love, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. The snow had been falling since late afternoon, soft at first, then steady enough to erase the edges of Briar Falls one street at a time. By midnight, the town looked cleaner than it had any right to look. The roofs along Lake Briar were buried under white caps. Pine branches bent low over the county road. The lake itself lay frozen and pale under the winter moon, a wide sheet of blue-black ice, with snow blowing across it in long, ghost-like ribbons. Porch lights glowed amber through the storm. The snowplows moved slowly through town, their yellow beacons flashing like tired warnings. Sergeant Cole Mercer drove home with both hands on the wheel and his eyes on the dark road ahead. He was 42, tall and broad-shouldered, with a rugged, angular face, short dark brown hair cut in a police style, and blue-gray eyes that rarely missed what other people tried to hide. His uniform still carried the smell of cold air, road salt, and the inside of a patrol car after a 12-hour shift. A black wristwatch sat on his left wrist, its scratched face catching the dashboard light whenever he turned the wheel. He had spent the last 3 hours at a crash scene on County 17, where a pickup had slid sideways across black ice and folded itself into a snowbank. No one had been badly hurt. That should have made the night easier. It did not. Cole had long ago learned that the body did not care whether danger had passed. His shoulders still held tension as if the road might change its mind. His jaw ached from being clenched. His radio had finally gone quiet, but the silence in the cruiser felt less like peace than a room waiting for bad news. Briar Falls Police Department sat only 6 blocks from the diner and 9 from the frozen boat launch. It was a small department, which meant everyone did more than their job title suggested. Cole had been a patrol officer, a traffic unit, a school crossing presence, a first responder, a winter road lecturer, and once, years ago, the department's best K-9 handler. People still remembered that last part. Cole tried not to. His cabin stood near the northern edge of town, where the houses thinned and the pines began to gather closer. It was not much to look at. Dark cedar siding, a narrow porch, a woodpile under a blue tarp, one warm square of kitchen window facing the driveway. He had bought it after leaving the K-9 unit because it was small, quiet, and far enough from the station that no one dropped by unless something was wrong. He parked beside the woodpile and killed the engine. The world outside went still except for the wind. Cole sat for a moment in the cruiser, his gloved hands resting on the steering wheel. Snow ticked softly against the windshield. The dashboard clock read 12:38 a.m. His duty belt pressed into his hip. His body wanted sleep, but sleep had never obeyed him well in winter. 3 years had passed since the night on the logging road. 3 years since he had told Ranger to keep tracking. 3 years since the German Shepherd had looked back once, not refusing the command, not questioning him, just waiting for Cole to make the right call. Cole had not made it. He had seen the limp starting. He had heard Ranger's breathing change. He had known the dog was reaching the edge of what was safe. But the suspect had been close, the weather was closing in, and Cole had told himself one more stretch, one more ridge, one more push. Ranger had obeyed. That was what still lived under Cole's ribs. Not that the dog had been hurt. Not only that. Ranger had trusted him enough to go farther than he should have, and Cole had let that trust become a tool. The injury had ended Ranger's working life. The dog had survived, retired to a former trainer's farm south of town, fed well, cared for, loved. Everyone told Cole that mattered. It did matter. It just did not clear him. Cole got out of the cruiser and shut the door quietly. His boots sank into 6 inches of fresh snow. The cold took hold of his face at once, sharp enough to wake the nerves under his skin. He climbed the porch steps, brushed snow from his sleeves, and unlocked the front door. Inside, The cabin was dark except for the kitchen light he had left on. The air smelled faintly of cedar, old coffee, and the wood stove that had burned down to red coals. He hung his winter patrol jacket on the hook beside the door, unclipped his radio mic, and set his notebook on the counter. The house made its usual sounds around him, pipes settling, wind pressing against the windows, a branch scratching once along the side wall. Cole paused. He turned his head toward the porch. For a few seconds, he heard nothing but weather. Then came a sound so small he nearly dismissed it. A thin, broken whimper. He stood very still. The wind rose, rushed over the roof, and fell away again. There it was. Not metal, not wood, not a branch. Living. Cole moved before he finished thinking. He took his flashlight from the counter, opened the front door, and let the storm lean into the room. Snow blew across the threshold and melted on the mat. His porch light flickered over the steps, the railing, the woodpile, and a gray plastic storage bin tucked against the lowest riser. He knew immediately it had not been there when he left for shift. Cole stepped out and swept the flashlight across the driveway. No fresh tire tracks beyond his own, at least none the snowfall had not already softened. No footprints he could trust. The snow was filling every mark almost as quickly as the night made it. The bin shifted, barely. Cole crouched, his knees cracking in the cold. He did not open it at once. That was the part of him that still wore the badge, even at his own front door. He angled the flashlight, checked the lid, the sides, the porch boards around it. Then he pulled his phone from his pocket and took 3 photos. Only then did he lift the lid. A wet towel lay inside, darkened by melted snow. Under it, 3 German Shepherd puppies were pressed together in a trembling knot. For 1 second, Cole forgot to breathe. They were tiny, too young to be away from their mother. Their black and tan coats were soaked flat. Their eyes were still cloudy with newness, barely open to a world that had already become too cold. One female pushed blindly against the towel as if anger alone might create warmth. A larger male made a weak, complaining sound when Cole's light touched him. The third barely moved. Cole's hand tightened around the flashlight. "No," he whispered. Not to the puppies, not to the storm, but to whoever had decided a plastic bin in the snow was a place to leave newborn lives. The old part of him wanted to gather them all against his chest and run inside. The police part stopped him for 2 more seconds. Evidence, location, weather, time. He hated that those words came first. He hated more that they had to. Cole took another photo, then keyed his phone with his thumb and called dispatch. The night dispatcher answered on the second ring, voice low and alert. "Briar Falls dispatch. It's Mercer. I'm at my residence. I've got 3 abandoned German Shepherd puppies on my porch. Severe cold exposure. I need animal control notified and a case number started." A short silence followed. "At your house? Affirmative. You need medical? For the dogs. Call Dr. Maeve Callahan. She's the emergency vet tonight. Roads north are bad, I know. Tell whoever can get here to call me first." He hung up and called Maeve himself. She answered like a woman who had been asleep for 20 minutes and angry for all of them. "This better have 4 legs or be on fire." 3 puppies, Cole said. German Shepherds, maybe 4 weeks, maybe less. Cold exposure, wet towel, found outside. Her tone changed at once. The irritation stayed, but the sleep vanished. "Are they responsive?" 2 are, 1 barely. "Do not put them directly by high heat. Warm slowly. Dry towel, low heat, no cow's milk. Do you have puppy formula?" "No, I'll bring some if the road lets me. Until then, body warmth through towels, not skin to skin if they're soaked. Keep them level." "And Cole?" "Yeah, document everything. If somebody left them in this weather, this may not be simple neglect." He looked down at the smallest puppy. "I know." Cole carried the bin inside with both hands. The cabin changed the moment the puppies crossed the threshold. It was still the same small room, still the same stove, still the same boots lined by the door. But the air filled with fragile sounds, the tiny scrape of paws against plastic, the faint hitch of breathing, the soft complaint of life insisting it was not finished. He spread a clean towel near the wood stove, far enough from the heat to keep it gentle. He turned on the lamp over the kitchen table, shrugged off his vest, and washed his hands longer than necessary because his fingers had started to shake. That bothered him. Cole Mercer did not shake at crash scenes. He did not shake when drunk men yelled in his face or when winter roads turned cruel. He had held pressure on wounds, carried children away from rolled vehicles, and stood in living rooms where grief had just learned its own name. But 3 puppies in a towel made his hands unsteady. He dried them carefully, one at a time. The female fought him with the little strength she had, pushing her nose into his palm as if offended by every delay. The larger male whimpered until Cole placed him close to the others again. The smallest lay in his hand with almost no weight at all. Cole looked at the puppy's face, at the black muzzle still too soft to be fierce, at the tiny closed mouth. "Come on," he murmured. The puppy gave no answer. The phone rang while Cole was wrapping them in a dry towel. Maeve again. "I'm leaving now," she said. "It'll take me a while. I found formula. Do you have a dropper or syringe?" "First aid kit. Good. Warm water, not hot. If the weakest one won't take anything, don't force it down the throat. 1 drop at a time. Let him decide to swallow." "Him? You said German Shepherd." "I made an educated guess and insulted half the litter. Check later." Cole almost smiled. Almost. After they hung up, he mixed the first formula using the instructions Maeve texted him from the road. His kitchen, usually bare and orderly, became a strange little emergency room. Towels on the table, gloves by the sink, a thermometer. His notebook opened beside the stove, the black cover dusted with flour from a spilled measuring spoon. He checked them as best he could. The female was first. She shoved toward the dropper with furious determination. "All right," Cole said softly. "You're Mabel." She swallowed, then complained when the dropper left her mouth. The larger male tucked himself into the crook of Cole's wrist and made a miserable sound until Cole supported his body more firmly. "Tucker," Cole decided. "That seems about right." The smallest turned his head away twice. Cole sat back on his heels. Outside, the snow kept falling, quiet and endless, softening the whole town into something that looked gentle from a distance. Inside, the puppy's ribs lifted under Cole's thumb in shallow, uncertain motions. He thought of Ranger on the logging road, the dog's breath, the look back, the command Cole should not have given. His throat tightened, and with it came the old sentence he never said aloud. "I pushed because I needed to win." The puppy's mouth opened slightly. Cole lowered the dropper. "1 drop," he whispered. "That's all." The formula touched the puppy's tongue. Nothing happened. Then the tiny throat moved. Cole froze. The puppy swallowed. A second drop followed, then a third. Cole let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. "There you go," he said, his voice rougher than he wanted. "Easy. Nobody's asking you to be brave yet." The puppy's head sank onto Cole's index finger. It was not a grip. It was not even trust, not in any conscious way. The pup was too young for that. It was only warmth found by instinct. Still, Cole did not move. For several minutes, he sat on the kitchen floor in his uniform pants and black boots, one hand supporting a life small enough to fit between duty and regret. The storm pushed at the windows. The wood stove ticked. Mabel rooted against the towel. Tucker made a dramatic little sigh. The smallest puppy rested his chin on Cole's finger as if he had been looking for that exact place in the world and was too tired to explain why. Cole looked down at him. "Bishop," he said. He wrote the names in his notebook beneath the case number. Mabel, Tucker, Bishop. Temporary names, he told himself. For identification, for the report. Not because numbers felt wrong. Not because the cabin no longer felt empty. Near dawn, headlights swept across the kitchen wall. Cole stood carefully, placing Bishop back beside the others before he went to the door. Dr. Maeve Callahan climbed from her truck with a medical bag in one hand and a container of formula under her arm. Tire chains clinked as she crossed the driveway. Maeve was 56, small but sturdy, with chin-length brown and silver hair smashed flat under a wool cap. Her face had the direct, unimpressed look of someone who had saved too many animals at inconvenient hours to be charmed by anyone's panic. Snow clung to her coat. Her boots left wet prints across Cole's entry mat. "You look terrible," she said. "Good morning to you, too." "It's not morning until coffee gives consent." She moved past him into the kitchen and stopped when she saw the towel near the stove. Her expression sharpened, then softened in a way she would have denied if asked. "Well," she said quietly, "let's see who decided to fight the weather." Cole stayed close but out of her way as she examined them. Maeve's hands were quick, gentle, and exact. She checked gums, temperature, hydration, bellies. Mabel objected to everything. Tucker tried to burrow into the sleeve of her coat. Bishop barely stirred until Cole spoke, and then his nose moved toward the sound. Maeve noticed. Of course she did. That one's already made a poor life choice, she said. He was cold. Cold puppies seek heat. They don't usually pick a police sergeant with emotional constipation. Cole gave her a flat look. Maeve ignored it and turned Bishop's head slightly, checking his ears. Her fingers paused. What? Cole asked. She adjusted the lamp. Inside Bishop's right ear, half hidden by soft fur, was a tiny blue mark, a dot and a short line, clean and deliberate. Cole leaned closer. Paint? No. Maeve's voice lost all humor. Not accidental. She checked Mabel, then Tucker. No mark. Only Bishop. Maeve moved to the wet towel Cole had bagged, but not sealed. She opened it carefully, lifted one corner, and smelled it without touching her nose to the fabric. Then she used tweezers to pull free 3 longer hairs caught in the stitching. Adult dog. German Shepherd. Cole knew before she said it. Maeve set the hairs into a small evidence envelope from Cole's counter because she knew him well enough to know he had them. This towel has machine oil on it, she said. Cheap disinfectant, too. Kennel smell, maybe. Not a house towel. Cole stared at Bishop. The puppy had fallen asleep again, chin tucked toward his chest. The blue mark looked smaller now, almost harmless. That made it worse. Maeve looked up at Cole across the kitchen table. These puppies were not lost, she said. Somebody separated them from their mother. The words entered the room and stayed there. Outside, Briar Falls was beginning to brighten under a clean winter sky. Snow still drifted past the window, soft as ash, bright as sugar. Somewhere down the road, a plow scraped pavement. A normal morning was trying to begin. Cole stood beside his kitchen table, one hand resting near Bishop but not touching him. For 3 years he had built his life around distance. Distance from the K-9 unit. Distance from Ranger. Distance from any living thing that might look at him and wait for the right call. Now a puppy with a blue mark in his ear slept inches from his hand, weak and warm and impossibly alive. Cole looked at the mark again, then at the storm beyond the glass, then back at Bishop. For the first time in years he felt something inside him move toward danger instead of away from it. Not recklessness. Not yet. Something quieter. A question he did not want and could not ignore. Whether he was still the kind of man a dog should trust. Morning came too bright for what had happened in the night. Briar Falls woke beneath a clean winter sky, the kind of blue that made the cold look almost kind. Snow covered the roofs in soft white layers. The pines along the north road glittered under thin sunlight. Lake Briar stretched beyond town in a frozen sheet of silver and pale blue, its far edge blurred where wind lifted loose snow across the ice. From the outside, Cole Mercer's cabin looked peaceful. Inside, nothing felt peaceful. A towel hung over the back of a chair. A second towel sat folded beside the stove. His kitchen table held a notebook, a thermometer, gloves, Maeve Callahan's medical instructions, and 3 small German Shepherd puppies in a plastic laundry basket lined with fleece. The fire had been rebuilt twice before sunrise. Cole's coffee had gone cold without being touched. Mabel had decided the world owed her breakfast every time she woke. Tucker complained whenever he was moved more than 3 inches from the others. Bishop slept the most, still too quiet for Cole's liking, but his breathing had steadied since the first weak drops of formula. Cole stood at the counter in dark uniform pants and a gray thermal shirt, his duty shirt folded over a chair. His black wristwatch rested against the edge of the sink as he washed the last syringe. The scratch across its face caught the light, a thin white mark under the kitchen bulb. He turned the syringe upside down on a paper towel, then looked toward the basket. Bishop's head shifted. Not much, just a small lift toward the sound of Cole moving. Cole looked away first. That bothered him more than it should have. A knock came at the front door at 8:17. Not loud, not uncertain. Official. Cole crossed the room and opened it to find a county animal control truck idling in the driveway, tires packed with snow. The woman on his porch had a forest green county jacket, dark cargo pants, waterproof boots, and a coil of red slip leads clipped at her side. Her auburn hair was pulled into a low ponytail under a knit cap, though several pieces had escaped around her face. A small scar marked the underside of her chin. She held a clipboard against her chest like a shield and a tool at the same time. Sergeant Mercer, Cole is fine. Jenna Pike, County Animal Control. She glanced past him, not rudely, just directly. "Where are the puppies?" "Kitchen side." "Near the stove, but not too close." "That an answer from you or the vet?" "The vet." "Good, then we may survive each other." Cole stepped aside. Jenna came in without performing warmth. He appreciated that. Some people entered a house with puppies and immediately softened their voices into something useless. Jenna did not. She washed her hands, set down her clipboard, and approached the basket with the quiet, practical focus of someone who knew fear often hid inside small bodies. Mabel woke and pushed her nose toward the new smell. "Well, good morning to you too," Jenna said. "She's Mabel," Cole said before he could stop himself. Jenna's eyebrows rose. "For the log," he added. "Sure." She checked each puppy, confirmed Maeve's notes, photographed the blue mark in Bishop's ear, the towels, the gray bin, and the porch through the front window. She asked where the bin had sat, what time Cole had arrived home, whether the porch light had been on, whether he had seen vehicle tracks, whether any neighbors had cameras facing the road. Her questions were precise. Cole answered the same way. When she weighed Bishop, the puppy made almost no sound, but one paw opened against the air as if looking for something. Cole reached out before thinking. Bishop's tiny paw found the side of his finger and held there, not with strength but with contact. Jenna noticed. She kept writing. "You always this stiff around puppies?" she asked. Cole let out a breath through his nose. "Only the ones that arrive as evidence." "Evidence seems to like you. It doesn't know any better. Most evidence doesn't." That almost got a smile from him. Jenna finished the temporary custody form and slid it across the kitchen table. "Because of the weather and the vet's instructions, I'm authorizing emergency foster care at this location until we can move them safely, or Dr. Callahan says otherwise. You'll log feedings. You'll preserve anything connected to the scene. You'll notify me if anyone contacts you about them. No visitors, no posting, no Good Samaritan Facebook nonsense. I don't use Facebook. Congratulations. One less way to ruin a case." Cole signed. Jenna watched his pen move across the paper. "You understand what this means?" "That they are not mine. That. And if this turns into a criminal case, every casual choice becomes a problem someone can use later." Cole looked toward the basket. Bishop had gone back to sleep with his chin tucked against Tucker's side. "I understand," he said. Jenna's expression shifted, not softening exactly, but adjusting. People say that fast when they don't. Cole met her eyes. "I know what mishandled trust costs." For the first time since she arrived, Jenna did not have a quick answer. The morning stretched on in small tasks. Jenna took the wet towel and longer hairs into proper evidence packaging. Cole logged the feedings. Maeve called twice and gave instructions that sounded like complaints, but were clearly concern in work boots. Dispatch checked in about road conditions. A neighbor texted to ask if Cole needed help clearing his driveway, and he replied with a simple no thanks. By late morning, the sunlight had sharpened. Snow slid in soft sheets from the cabin roof. The plow had opened one lane along the road, leaving high white banks on either side. Cole had just finished warming formula when Bishop woke again. The puppy did not cry. He only lifted his head and turned toward Cole's voice when Cole spoke to Jenna about the form. The motion was so small no one would have built meaning from it. Still, Cole felt it land somewhere deep and inconvenient. Jenna saw him see it. She capped her pen. "You know, keeping distance doesn't make you neutral." Cole looked at her. "It just makes you stiff while you care." He almost told her she did not know him, but she knew animals. Maybe that was close enough. Before he could answer, tires moved slowly over snow-packed gravel outside. Both of them turned toward the window. A black SUV rolled into the driveway and stopped behind Jenna's county truck. It was too clean for the road. That was Cole's first thought. Not spotless, but close. The wheel wells had snow at the edges, yet the doors carried none of the road salt every vehicle in Briar Falls wore by February. The SUV looked as if it had been washed somewhere warm and driven carefully through winter only at the last minute. Jenna set her clipboard down without a sound. Cole moved to the front window, staying off to one side. Two men stepped out. The older one came first. He was around 50, neat, silver at the temples, wearing a navy softshell jacket with a white dog and star logo on the chest. He moved with the calm confidence of a man used to being welcomed. The younger man was broader. heavier through the neck and shoulders, his blond hair cut short under a black cap. He wore the same logo jacket, but his attention moved faster than his body. The younger one looked at the windows, then at the porch, then at Jenna's truck. Cole saw him notice it. "Expecting someone?" Jenna asked quietly. "No. Want me visible or not?" Cole considered it for half a second. "Not yet." Jenna stepped back into the hallway near the kitchen, where she could hear without being seen from the door. Cole pulled on his dark navy-duty shirt, but left the badge side, partly turned away beneath an unzipped cabin jacket. He did not hide who he was. He simply did not offer it first. The knock came smooth and polite. Cole opened the door halfway. The older man smiled with practiced concern. "Morning. Sorry to bother you after a storm. Are you Mr. Mercer?" Cole said nothing for one beat too long. The man adjusted. "Damon Kessler, North Star Working Dog Rescue." He held up a thick business card between two fingers. "This is Roy Arlen." Roy gave a short nod. His eyes went past Cole's shoulder before returning to his face. "What can I do for you?" Cole asked. Damon's smile stayed in place. "We're looking for 3 German Shepherd puppies. Our volunteer transport had a situation last night near the North Road. Weather turned bad, crate shifted during the stop, and we believe someone may have picked them up thinking they were abandoned." Cole kept his expression neutral. "That happen often?" "Thankfully, no." Damon gave a small, regretful laugh. "But storms make honest mistakes out of good intentions." It was a nice line. Too nice. "What kind of transport?" Cole asked. "Rescue intake. Working line shepherd pups. Fragile little things. We're very worried." Roy shifted his weight. His boots were clean at the laces. Not clean like a careful man's boots. Clean like boots that had not stood in a storm looking for anything. "You lose them out of a crate?" Cole asked. Damon nodded. "That's what we believe." "You believe?" "We're still putting the timeline together. What vet are they under?" For the first time, Damon's answer did not arrive ready-made. "Our medical coordinator handles that. Name? Dr. Harlan Reed." Cole let the silence sit. Damon added, "Out of Duluth." There was a small sound from inside the cabin. Tucker had woken and objected to being alive without immediate attention. Roy's head snapped toward the sound. Damon's smile held, but the muscles along his jaw tightened. Cole sighed and looked back into the house as if annoyed. "Old furnace." Roy's pale eyes flicked to him. Cole raised his voice slightly. "Give it a minute. It complains when the pressure drops." From the hallway, Jenna made no sound. Cole had to respect her for that. Damon chuckled politely. "Old houses do have a personality." "This one is several," Cole said. "Most of them expensive." Damon extended the card. "If you hear anything, we'd appreciate a call. Those pups need specialized care." Cole took the card. "North Star Working Dog Rescue." White logo, a phone number, a website, no street address, a slogan beneath the name, "Discipline." Purpose, second chances, second chances. Cole hated it immediately. Roy's gaze dropped from the card to Cole's sleeve, then past the partly open door. His eyes caught on the patrol jacket hanging on the hook near the kitchen entrance. Dark navy. Shoulder patch visible. Radio mic clipped where Cole had left it. Roy looked at Damon. It was fast, but not fast enough. Damon's concern grew brighter and less real. "Well," he said, taking half a step back, "we won't take more of your morning. Roads are still rough, and we have a lot of ground to cover. I bet, if anything turns up, I have the card." Damon nodded. "Appreciate your time." Roy was already turning before Damon finished speaking. Cole stood in the doorway and watched them return to the SUV. Roy said something low. Damon did not look back. The vehicle reversed carefully, tires crunching over the packed snow, then rolled down the driveway toward the main road. Cole stayed where he was until the SUV disappeared beyond the pines. Only then did Jenna step out from the hallway. "Your furnace sounds like a puppy," she said. "Old model, very German." Cole closed the door. The cabin seemed to hold its breath after the men left. Even Mabel had gone still, though that may have been the exhaustion of being Mabel. Tucker wriggled once and settled. Bishop remained asleep, curled smallest in the fold of fleece. Jenna held out her hand. "Card." Cole passed it to her by the corner. She studied it. "No address." Noticed. "Logo looks heat-pressed." Noticed. "Boots were too clean." Noticed. She looked at him. "You are annoying, I've been told." Jenna photographed the card on the table before bagging it. Cole stopped her with one raised hand. "Wait." She frowned, but did not argue. Cole crouched beside the basket and lifted Bishop with care. The puppy stirred but did not wake fully. Cole held the business card several inches away, not touching him with it, not making more of this than it was. At first nothing happened. Then Bishop's nose began to move. A faint twitch, then another. His small body tightened in Cole's palm, not with strength, but with recognition carried deeper than thought. He pushed his head toward the card, sniffing harder, then turned his face toward the front door. Jenna's expression changed. Cole lowered the card. Bishop followed the scent as far as his weak neck allowed. Cole felt the puppy's heartbeat against his fingers, too fast and too small. "He doesn't know anything," Cole said, as much to himself as to Jenna. "No," Jenna replied quietly, "but his nose might remember something." Cole set Bishop back with the others and stood. For a moment he was no longer in his cabin. He was back on the logging road with Ranger's breath steaming in the beam of his flashlight, the dog looking back, waiting. A living creature had given him information then too, in the only language it had. Fatigue, hesitation, a body asking for the handler to notice. Cole had noticed too late. This time he forced himself not to move too fast. He took a breath, then another. "Call Maeve," he said. "I'm calling this in." Jenna nodded once, as if that was the answer she had been waiting to hear. Cole reported the contact through dispatch, then called Detective Aaron Vale directly. Aaron answered, with road noise in the background and no greeting. "Please tell me you're calling because you finally learned to ask for help clearing snow. I had 2 men at my house claiming to be from North Star Working Dog Rescue, looking for 3 German Shepherd puppies." The road noise faded, probably because Aaron had pulled over. "Names? Damon Kessler and Roy Arlen. Did they know you're police?" "Not when they knocked. And after, they noticed." Aaron was silent for a second. "Are the puppies still there?" "Yes. Jenna Pike is here. Maeve is aware." "Good. That means at least 2 adults are involved." Cole did not respond to that. Aaron Vale was 45. Patient in the irritating way of men who trusted paperwork more than adrenaline. He had grown up with Cole, though neither of them brought that up unless it helped an argument. Aaron had brown eyes that always seemed to be reading the line after the one someone had spoken, and a dry calm that made angry people feel undignified. Cole gave him the details: the SUV, the partial plate obscured by snow, the heat press logo, the missing address, the too smooth story, Roy's reaction to Tucker's cry, Bishop's response to the card. When he reached that part, Aaron interrupted. "The puppy reacting to the card is not probable cause." "I know. Say it like you mean it." "The puppy reacting to the card is not probable cause." "Good. It is, however interesting." Cole heard typing. Aaron continued, "Send me photos of the card, the SUV if you have them, and your exterior camera footage. Do not call the number on the card from your personal phone. Do not visit the website from your home network. Do not decide this is a rescue mission because a puppy looked at you." Cole looked toward Bishop. The puppy was sleeping again. "I know." "No," Aaron said. His voice stayed even, but something underneath it sharpened. "You know the words. I'm asking if you believe them." Cole did not answer. Aaron let the silence last just long enough to become uncomfortable. Then he said, "I'll run what I can, officially." Cole ended the call and sent the files. The next 2 hours moved in a different kind of weather. Not snow, but waiting. Jenna left to file her part and secure the towel properly. Maeve called to say the puppies needed another feeding, and that if Cole let his detective face scare them off formula, she would personally remove him from his own kitchen. Dispatch sent a case number update. Cole cleaned, logged, fed, warmed, and checked the windows more often than necessary. By early afternoon, Aaron called back. "No registered Minnesota nonprofit under North Star Working Dog Rescue," he said. "No Wisconsin listing either. There is a site, but it's thin. Domain created 6 weeks ago. Images look borrowed. Phone number is internet-based. The nonprofit ID on the card belongs to a dissolved youth hockey foundation in Bemidji." Cole closed his eyes. Address? Mailbox in Duluth. The vet? No Harlan Reed with an active veterinary license in Minnesota or Wisconsin. Cole looked at the front door. Aaron continued. "Partial plate from your camera isn't enough yet, but I matched the vehicle make and color to an alert from St. Louis County. Similar SUV seen near a property complaint 2 nights ago. Not enough to hang anything on. Enough to keep looking. Cole picked up the business card from where Jenna had sealed it in a clear evidence bag. Through the plastic, the slogan still showed. Discipline, purpose, second chances. A phrase built to make kind people open doors. Aaron's voice dropped slightly. Cole, listen to me. You found the puppies. That doesn't make this your private case. Cole turned the bag in his hand. Inside the basket, Bishop lifted his head. The puppy's nose worked once, then again, catching the faint scent even through plastic and distance. He was too weak to crawl far, but he tried anyway, pushing one paw against the fleece. Cole set the bag on the counter and stepped back. Bishop kept trying. Small, unsteady, certain. Jenna's words returned to him. Keeping distance doesn't make you neutral. Cole looked at the puppy, then at his own watch, at the old scratch that had become a private sentence he wore every day. I'm not going anywhere, he said into the phone. Good. I mean it. I'd like to believe that. I'll work through you, through Jenna, through Maeve, through whoever owns the next form. Aaron exhaled softly. It almost counted as approval. That, he said, is the first smart thing you've said today. Cole looked down at Bishop. The puppy had stopped trying to reach the card. His strength had run out, but his head remained pointed toward the counter where the false rescue name waited in plastic. Cole's cabin had been quiet for years, because quiet was easier to manage than trust. Now 3 puppies breathed beside his stove, and outside in the clean white daylight, 2 men with a polished story had already come looking. Cole placed the sealed card into a larger evidence envelope. He wrote the case number across the front in black ink, each number careful, square, controlled. Then he looked once more at Bishop, at the blue mark hidden in the soft fold of his right ear. Whatever had begun in the snow had not ended at Cole's porch. And somewhere beyond the bright winter roads of Briar Falls, something that smelled like that card was still waiting to be found. By the next morning, the puppies were no longer at Cole Mercer's cabin. That should have made the house feel simpler. Instead, it made the quiet worse. The laundry basket was gone. The folded fleece blanket was gone. The small towel beside the stove was gone. All that remained were faint marks on the kitchen table where Cole had cleaned formula spills, and a narrow line in his notebook where he had written the last feeding time before Jenna Pike transported the puppies to Dr. Maeve Callahan's clinic. Mabel, Tucker, and Bishop. He had told himself the names were temporary. The empty space by the stove did not believe him. At 7:40 a.m., Cole stood in the break room of the Briar Falls Police Department with a paper cup of coffee cooling in his hand, while Detective Aaron Vale loaded security footage on an old monitor that hummed like it resented being useful. The department looked the way small-town police departments looked when winter stretched too long. Wet boots lined under desks, salt stains near the entrance, extra gloves on radiator covers, a bulletin board crowded with snow emergency notices, school event flyers, and one faded cartoon about clearing fire hydrants. Aaron sat at the computer in a charcoal field coat, hair still damp from melting snow. He had not shaved closely, but somehow still looked more put together than anyone else in the room. He clicked through video files without drama, one hand resting near a legal pad filled with neat black notes. Cole stood behind him in full uniform, dark navy shirt, tactical vest, duty belt, black boots. His badge felt heavier than usual. Maeve texted, Aaron said without looking back. All 3 made the morning feeding. Cole kept his eyes on the monitor. Good. Bishop took more than last night. Good. Aaron paused the video and glanced over his shoulder. You can say something with more than one syllable. It's legal in this building. Cole took a sip of coffee. It had gone bitter. Keep playing the footage. Aaron gave him a patient look, then turned back. They had kept the discovery quiet. No press release, no social media warning, no community alert with heart emojis and angry comments. Aaron wanted to see who else came looking before the story spread on its own. Because in a town like Briar Falls, secrets had short legs and fast boots. The first video came from Cole's exterior camera, the black SUV in his driveway. Damon Kessler stepping out with polite concern. Roy Arlen looking too long at the windows. The partial plate blocked by snow crust and glare. The second file came from a snowplow camera near the North Road. Headlights at 1:58 a.m., blurred by blowing snow. The SUV moved slowly, not lost, not panicked. It turned toward the old county gas station at the edge of town. Aaron clicked again. The screen changed to grainy footage from Mac's Fuel and Bait, a tired station with 2 pumps, a bait freezer, and a sign that still advertised hot coffee even though the machine had not worked right in years. The timestamp read 2:06 a.m. The black SUV sat under the canopy, engine running. Roy stepped out first. Damon remained near the passenger door, phone to his ear. Snow blew through the light in hard white streaks. A second vehicle sat across the road near the dark side of the lot. A red pickup, old, rust along the wheel well. Driver's side headlight dimmer than the passenger side. Aaron leaned closer. "Now watch the pickup," he said. Cole did. The driver's door opened. A young woman stepped down into the snow. She was slight, wearing a faded red hoodie under a denim jacket with a Sherpa collar. A gray knit cap was pulled low over her hair. She held something against her chest beneath her jacket, not large, but with both arms wrapped around it as if it mattered. She did not approach the SUV. She watched it. Roy turned once, and the woman stepped back toward the pickup, half hidden by the gas pump. Damon said something to Roy. The SUV left first. The woman remained in the lot for nearly a full minute after the taillights disappeared. Then she bent forward, one hand braced against the open truck door, as if she might be sick or might be praying and had forgotten the difference. Cole felt his attention sharpen. "Who is she?" Aaron clicked to another still, zoomed and printed the frame. "Mac thinks her name is Lena Brooks. Mac saw her?" Mac sees everything from that stool behind the counter and pretends it's none of his business until someone asks correctly. Cole looked at the frozen image. Lena Brooks's face was blurred by snow and camera grain, but her posture told a story her features could not. Fear did not stand straight. Guilt did not either. She carried both like weight under her jacket. Aaron slid a sheet across the desk. 24. Local. Worked seasonal kennel jobs. Cleaning, feeding, transport help. No serious record. A couple traffic tickets. One complaint last year from a property owner who said she was trespassing near a closed boarding facility, but it never went anywhere. Cole picked up the sheet. Family? Younger brother. Medical issues. Mother passed 4 years ago. Father gone before that, according to Mac. She's been taking whatever work pays cash. That makes her easy to use. It also makes her easy to scare, Aaron said. Cole looked back at the monitor. We should talk to her. We should not show up at her door in uniform and make her think she's already under arrest. Cole's jaw tightened. Aaron noticed. He always did. If she's the one who got those puppies out, Aaron continued, she already took a risk. If she's tied to Damon and Roy, she may also be afraid of us. Both can be true. Cole hated how often Aaron made sense in ways that slowed everything down. What do you suggest? Pastor Will Sutter. Cole frowned slightly. The food pantry. Lena's been there. Mac says Will helped her with groceries last month. He can pass a message without making it feel like a warrant. We're outsourcing witness contact to a pastor? We're using someone she might trust enough not to run from. Cole looked at the still image again. Lena Brooks stood beside her red pickup in blowing snow, holding something close enough to protect it from the cold. He wondered if it had been one of the puppies. He wondered if it had been all three. He wondered what kind of fear made a person leave newborn animals on a stranger's porch and then drive away alone into a storm. The thought came too easily after that. What kind of fear made a person keep driving? He set the paper down. Call him. Pastor Will Sutter met them at the side entrance of Harbor Light Church 20 minutes later. The church sat 2 blocks from the old rail depot, white clapboard, under a steep roof heavy with snow. A wooden sign near the walkway read Food Pantry Wednesday and Saturday. Someone had hung a bright red scarf around the signpost, probably for no reason except that winter needed color. Will was in his early 60s, tall and thin, with a weathered face and kind eyes that looked tired without looking defeated. He wore jeans, snow boots, and a thick brown cardigan under a winter coat instead of anything formal. When he shook Cole's hand, his grip was warm and careful, like a man who did not believe strength had to announce itself. Aaron said this was about Lena, Will said. Possibly, Aaron replied. Will's gaze moved between them. That's a word people use when they don't want to promise safety. Cole respected him more for saying it. We don't know her level of involvement, Aaron said. We do know 3 puppies were left in the snow, and 2 men came looking with a fake rescue story. Will looked down at the snow packed along the steps. "Lena likes animals better than people," he said. "That doesn't make her innocent. It does mean if she did something brave, she probably did it scared." Cole said, "Can you get a message to her?" "I can try." "Tell her she can talk to us without being taken in on sight," Aaron said. "Tell her we need to know where the mother is, if there is a mother." Will's expression changed at that. There it was, Cole thought, the thing nobody wanted to say too loudly. A mother dog somewhere without her pups. Will nodded once. "I'll make calls." "Do not put yourself in danger," Aaron said. The pastor gave him a mild look. "Detective, I run a pantry in February. Danger is mostly people arguing about canned pears." Aaron almost smiled. "Still, I'll be careful." Cole turned to leave, then stopped. "If she asks who found them, tell her they're alive." Will studied him. "All three?" he asked. Cole's answer came before the guarded part of him could catch it. "All three." Will nodded as if that mattered more than any promise. The day moved in fragments after that. Cole worked a minor call about a car stuck near the school, answered a welfare check, and signed 2 reports that had nothing to do with puppies, fake rescues, or a girl at a gas station. Ordinary police work continued with the stubborn indifference of ordinary life. A man complained about a plow berm blocking his driveway. A woman called because her neighbor's porch light had been flashing all morning. The high school resource officer asked whether Cole could stop by the gym later about a parking issue. He did each task. He did them well. He also checked his phone too often. By late afternoon, Jenna transported the puppies to Maeve's clinic full-time, but the clinic was short-staffed because one tech was snowed in outside town. Maeve filed the arrangement properly. Cole could assist during evening feedings as a supervised emergency foster helper. Jenna made him sign another form and looked far too satisfied about it. "Paperwork builds character," she said. "People who say that usually have plenty of other people's character to build." Correct. Maeve's clinic sat in a converted brick house near the lake road. It smelled of antiseptic, old wood, warm towels, and coffee strong enough to qualify as a medical intervention. The exam room lights were soft, the kind Maeve preferred for stressed animals. Mabel, Tucker, and Bishop slept in a warming box under a low heat lamp. Cole washed his hands and fed Mabel first. She took the formula like she had an argument with survival and planned to win. Tucker required reassurance as usual, pressing into the towel until Cole supported his chest. Bishop was last. He woke slowly when Cole spoke, the tiny head turning toward the voice. "You're late," Maeve said from the counter. "I was on shift. Puppies don't care about municipal scheduling." Bishop swallowed 3 drops, paused, then took 3 more. Cole felt something inside him settle against his will. Not peace, not even hope. Just the smallest proof that a thing could be weaker in the morning and stronger by evening. A knock came at the clinic's back door just after 7 p.m. Maeve looked up. The front door had been locked for the night. The back entrance led to a small staff lot and the alley behind the building. Cole set Bishop down carefully. "Stay here," he said. Maeve gave him an unimpressed look. "This is my clinic. Then stay in your clinic." He moved to the rear hall with his hand near his radio, not his weapon. Through the frosted window in the back door, he saw no face, no figure, only drifting snow and the orange wash of the alley light. On the floor, pushed halfway under the door, lay a white envelope. Cole did not touch it with bare hands. Maeve brought gloves and an evidence bag without being asked. Inside the envelope was a torn piece of notebook paper. The handwriting slanted hard to the right, uneven, as if written in a moving vehicle or by a hand that would not stop shaking. "If you have the 3 puppies, do not give them back. Their mother is alive. She won't survive another move." Beneath the note lay a small strip of torn leather. Cole stared at it. Not a full collar. A piece of one, dark brown, cracked along the edge, with a brass rivet still attached. Maeve leaned close, not touching. That came off an adult dog. Cole's radio made a soft click at his shoulder, then settled. The clinic seemed suddenly too quiet. Maeve bagged the note. Then she used tweezers to lift the leather. Before she sealed it, Bishop made a sound from the exam room. Not loud, not dramatic. Only a thin, searching breath that raised the hair along Cole's arms. Mabel woke next. She pushed herself toward the edge of the towel. Nose working. Tucker remained asleep, too tired to join the world's concerns. Cole carried Bishop closer, keeping distance from the leather. The puppy's nose moved quickly. His small body trembled, not from cold this time. Mabel, stubborn even half awake, wriggled toward the same smell. Maeve's face tightened. "Scent from the mother," she said. "Milk, adult shepherd. Same cheap disinfectant from the towel." Cole did not speak. He did not trust what would come out. Maeve looked at him over the top of her glasses. "Cole, I'm fine. No one who is fine says it like a door closing." His eyes stayed on the note. "Their mother is alive. She won't survive another move." That sentence entered him in a place that had never healed right. He saw a road cut through black trees, ranger's tracks filling with new snow. A dog looking back, asking with his body for the handler to read what Pride did not want to read. Cole turned away from the table. "I'm going to call Aaron." "Good. And after that?" "No," Maeve said. He looked at her. She held his gaze with the calm cruelty of a person willing to tell the truth before it became damage. "No after that. You call Aaron. You let him do this correctly. She's alive. And if you run at this wrong, she may not stay that way." The words hit clean. Cole picked up his phone. Aaron arrived 16 minutes later, not fast enough for Cole's body and exactly fast enough for procedure. He came through the back door with snow on his shoulders and a field notebook in hand. He read the note, looked at the leather, listened to Maeve, then looked at Cole once. "Don't do it," Aaron said. Cole's voice came low. "You don't even know what I'm thinking. I know exactly what you're thinking. That's why I parked behind your truck," Maeve muttered. Finally, a detective with practical skills. Cole ignored her. Aaron stepped closer. "We need Lena. We need the source. We need a location that will hold up. A note through a door and a puppy reacting to leather are not enough to walk into a property. If they move the mother, if you spook them, they move everything." Cole's hands closed once, then opened. Aaron saw that too. "Cole, this is the same lesson in a different coat." That made Cole look at him. Aaron did not soften the words. "You don't get to prove you care by pushing past the point where good judgment stops." For a second, Cole hated him. Not because he was wrong, because he had aimed at the part Cole spent most of his life guarding. Maeve sealed the leather strip and wrote the time on the bag. "The mother dog is likely postpartum and unwell. Stress matters. Temperature matters. Transport matters. If she exists, and if she is where the note implies, we need animal control, medical support, and legal authority. Not one guilty man with snow tires." Cole looked toward the warming box. Bishop had settled again, exhausted by whatever memory his nose had found. Mabel lay with her head over Tucker's back, still angled toward the sealed leather. "Their mother is alive." Cole repeated the words silently until they stopped sounding like a command and started sounding like responsibility. "Pastor Will?" he asked. Aaron nodded. "I called. He got a message to Lena through someone at the pantry, but she hasn't answered directly. After this she may. She came here. Maybe. She's watching. Maybe." Cole exhaled. "What do we have?" Aaron opened his notebook. "North Star is thin. Damon's name connects to a security consulting LLC. Roy Arlen has prior work at private training facilities. One old business license keeps coming up, Iron Ridge Canine Training." Maeve looked over. "I've heard that name." Aaron turned to her. "Not as a client," she said. "As a place people mention when they don't want a real vet asking questions." Cole's focus narrowed. "Where?" "North of the lake," Aaron said. "Past the old quarry road. Property records listed under an LLC out of Fargo. License is old, maybe inactive but not clearly dead. Active enough to hide behind," Cole said. "Maybe," Aaron replied, "and maybe not, which is why we build it properly." The clinic's heater clicked on, blowing warm air through the room. Outside, snow slid softly from the roof and hit the ground with a dull sigh. Cole looked at the evidence bags on Maeve's counter. The false card, the note, the torn leather. Each one felt too small for the life it pointed toward. But small things had to be handled carefully. A puppy, a scent, a sentence, a decision. Cole rubbed his thumb once across the scratch on his watch. Then he stopped himself. "Aaron," he said, "what do you need me to do?" Aaron's eyes held on him for a moment, measuring the difference between compliance and control. "Go home," he said. Cole stared. Aaron continued, "Sleep for 3 hours. Then come with me to pull snowplow footage and gas station footage from the North Road. In uniform, you scare Lena. In a ditch at midnight, you scare me. Right now, you're useful if you stay steady." Cole wanted to argue. He did not. That felt like losing until it started to feel like choosing. Before he left, he stood beside the warming box and looked down at Bishop. The puppy slept with his chin on the edge of the towel, one ear folded, the blue mark hidden for now. Cole did not touch him. He only stood close enough that if Bishop woke and searched for a voice, one would be there. "I'll do it right," Cole said softly. Maeve pretended not to hear. Aaron definitely heard and pretended he had not. Late that night, Cole did not go home. Not immediately. He drove south of town to a farm where the porch light had been left on for him. The retired K-9 trainer who cared for Ranger did not make a speech when Cole arrived. She only opened the mudroom door and said, "He's in the barn. Don't make him wait just because you're ashamed." Ranger was lying on a thick mat near a space heater, older and broader than the dog who lived in Cole's memory. His black and tan coat had silver at the muzzle now. One ear tilted slightly when he lifted his head. His right hind leg stretched out stiffly, the old injury visible in the way he rose slowly. Cole stopped just inside the barn. For several seconds, neither of them moved. Then Ranger walked to a red rubber ball near the wall, picked it up, and carried it across the straw-covered floor. He dropped it at Cole's boots. Cole looked down. The ball was worn nearly smooth. His throat tightened so sharply he had to look away. "I don't know if I should," he said. Ranger waited. The barn smelled of hay, cold wood, and old dog. Snow tapped lightly against the roof somewhere outside. A horse shifted in a stall. Cole crouched, but he did not pick up the ball. Not yet. Ranger lowered himself with some effort and rested his head across the toe of Cole's boot, as if patience had always been the lesson, and Cole had spent 3 years arriving late to class. Cole put one hand on the dog's neck. Warm. Solid. Alive. "I pushed too far," he whispered. Ranger's eyes half closed. No judgment came. No forgiveness was spoken. Just the steady weight of a dog who had waited longer than Cole deserved and still had not left the room. Cole stayed there until his knees hurt and the storm outside softened into silence. By the time he stood, he understood something he had not let himself understand at the clinic. Finding Sable would matter. Saving her would matter. But this could not become another chase where he ran until something loyal broke beneath the command. This time, if he was going to help, he would have to do the hardest thing first. Stop. Listen. And move only when moving would not cost the ones who had already trusted him too much. Lena Brooks came in through the church basement door at 6:12 p.m. And for a moment no one said anything. Not because she looked dangerous. Because she looked exhausted beyond the usefulness of fear. Harbor Light Church sat near the old rail depot, its white siding washed pale under the street lamps and the falling snow. Upstairs, the sanctuary was dark except for the exit signs and the faint glow of candles near the front. Downstairs, the basement was warm, practical, and plain. Folding tables, metal chairs, stacked food pantry boxes, an old coffee maker, and a bulletin board covered in volunteer schedules. Pastor Will Sutter stood near the stairs, not blocking them. That seemed to be the point. He had left space for her to run if she needed to, which somehow made it harder for her to do it. Lena stopped just inside the room. She was 24, but hardship had pressed the softness out of her face. Her brown hair was damp and tangled under a gray knit cap. A faded red hoodie showed beneath a second-hand parka, and her jeans were wet at the cuffs from walking through snow. There were scratches across the back of one hand, not deep, but numerous. Her eyes moved quickly from Aaron Vale to Jenna Pike, then to Maeve Callahan, then to Cole Mercer standing near the far wall. Cole had chosen not to wear his jacket with the badge visible. He still looked like a cop. Lena saw it anyway. Her shoulders rose a little, as if her body was trying to make itself smaller. Aaron spoke first. He sat at the end of a folding table with a notebook open, his coat unzipped, his voice even. "Lena, I'm Detective Aaron Vale. You're not under arrest. You came here voluntarily. If at any point you want an attorney, say so, and we stop." She swallowed. Pastor Will pulled out a chair without pushing it toward her. "You can sit, honey, or stand. Your choice." That word seemed to catch her. Choice. For a second her mouth tightened as if she might laugh and cry at the same time. She sat. Jenna stood beside a side table, arms folded, county animal control jacket still on. Maeve sat with a medical bag at her feet, and reading glasses low on her nose, looking less like a comforting grandmother than a woman who could tell a lie by how badly someone wrapped it. Cole stayed back. That took effort. Every part of him wanted to ask where the mother dog was. Every part of him wanted to hear a location, get in a vehicle, and move. But Lena looked like a door that would lock from the inside if anyone shoved too hard. So he said nothing. Aaron placed the evidence envelope on the table. The note, the torn leather, photographs of the puppies, a still from Mac's Fuel and Bait, and a printed image of the black SUV. Lena looked at the photo of the puppies and immediately looked away. Aaron noticed. They're alive. Her hands closed around each other in her lap. All three? She asked. Cole had not meant to answer. He did anyway. All three. Lena covered her mouth with both hands. The sound she made was small, not quite a sob. It had too much relief in it to be only grief, and too much grief in it to be relief. No one filled the silence. Pastor Will only lowered his eyes, giving her the dignity of not being watched too closely while she came apart. When she spoke again, the words came in pieces. I didn't hurt them. Aaron's pen rested above the page. Tell us what happened. I didn't hurt them, she repeated, as if the sentence had been holding her upright for 2 days. I took them out. From where her eyes moved toward Cole again. He kept his face still. Iron Ridge, she said. Jenna's jaw tightened. Maeve made a small note without looking up. Aaron's voice stayed calm. Iron Ridge Canine Training? Lena nodded. The name hung in the warm basement, like a draft had found its way in. She told the beginning badly, then had to tell it again. Iron Ridge had not looked like a bad place when she first took work there. That was one of the things she seemed ashamed to admit, though Cole understood it better than he wanted to. Bad places rarely introduced themselves honestly. They borrowed the language of usefulness, training, security, rehabilitation, working breeds. Lena had started by cleaning kennels and measuring food. Cash work, no benefits, no questions unless she wanted fewer hours. The facility had real clients once. Farm owners, warehouse managers, a private security company from Duluth. People wanted dogs that looked alert beside gates and vehicles. Damon Kessler knew how to talk to those people. He wore clean boots, used phrases like temperament stability and breed preservation, and made everything sound documented even when it wasn't. Roy Arlen handled the dogs. Lena said that part softly. Not every dog, not every day. Not in a way she could describe with one simple word and make it enough. But the facility changed after Roy took over the kennel rows. Dogs were moved at night. Paperwork got thinner. The vet listed on forms never came to the property. Some animals arrived with names and left with numbers. Some left with news stories that did not belong to them. Aaron did not interrupt. Cole watched Lena's hands. When she spoke about Damon, her fingers twisted together. When she spoke about Roy, they went still. That told him enough. You stayed, Jenna said. It was not a question. Lena flinched anyway. Jenna's voice did not rise, but there was iron in it. You saw enough to be scared, and you stayed. Pastor Will looked like he wanted to soften the room, but he did not. Lena stared at the table. My brother's medicine was behind. Rent was behind. My truck needed a starter. I told myself if I left, the dogs would still be there, and I'd just be poorer. Maeve looked at her over the rims of her glasses. That may explain why you stayed, she said. It doesn't erase what happened while you stayed. The words landed hard. Lena nodded once. Her mouth trembled, but she did not defend herself. I know. Cole found himself looking at Maeve. There were people who offered mercy by sanding down the truth until it no longer had edges. Maeve did not do that. She left the truth sharp, then stayed in the room with you while it cut. Aaron turned a page. Tell us about the mother. Lena's face changed. Not relief this time. Something worse. Sable, she said. The name altered the basement. Until then, the mother had been an idea, a missing piece, a direction for investigation. A name made her harder to keep distant. She's a German shepherd. 5 maybe. Dark sable coat. Not black and tan like most people picture. 1 torn ear, left one. White toe on her back foot. Lena wiped under one eye with the heel of her hand. She had the puppies during the storm. She was already sick. I told Roy she needed a real vet. What did he say? Aaron asked. Lena's lips pressed together. You can summarize, Aaron said. He said puppies sell better than bills. Cole looked toward the wall. He did not move. The basement lights hummed overhead. Somewhere upstairs, A pipe clicked as heat moved through the old building. Outside, a plow passed slowly, scraping snow from the church street. Lena continued. Damon wanted the puppies moved before morning. They were young enough that paperwork could be made around them. New intake, different mother, different state, a story that would fit whatever buyer needed to hear. Sable was too weak to travel far, so they planned to hold her until the road opened and decide what to do with her later. Jenna's voice was low. Where is she now? Far row. Last kennel on the left if they didn't move her. Lena looked at Maeve. She wasn't standing much when I left. Maeve wrote faster. Cole had to force his hands open. Aaron noticed but did not call attention to it. How did the puppies leave Iron Ridge? He asked. Lena breathed in. It came uneven. I waited until Damon and Roy went to the office trailer. They were arguing on the phone with someone. I took the 3 smallest, because those were the only ones I could carry and keep warm. There weren't more from that litter, just them. She looked at Cole, then away. I wrapped them in a shop towel, put them in a gray bin, took my truck. Why my house? Cole asked. His voice was quieter than he expected. Lena looked at him then. Really looked. People talk, she said. Cole did not like the feeling that came with those words. About what? About you, K9 guy. The one who doesn't let people make a show out of things. Someone said you once sat with a dog hit by a car until the owner got there. Her eyes dropped. Someone else said you don't ask for credit. Cole felt his face close. Stories made people too clean. He knew exactly what he was. And it was not the man strangers, built out of half-heard moments. You should have taken them to the sheriff's office, he said. I know, or the clinic. I know. Why didn't you? Her answer took time. Roy said he knew people. Not here, maybe. Somewhere. Transport people. Dispatch people. Cops. Her voice thinned. He said if anybody crossed him, he'd know before they made it home. Aaron's pen stopped. Cole looked at him. That claim might have been empty intimidation. It might not. Either way, it explained why fear had driven Lena sideways instead of straight toward help. So you left them on my porch, Cole said. I thought. Lena swallowed. I thought if you found them, you'd do it right. Or at least you wouldn't hand them back without looking. Cole did not answer, because the truth was 3 years ago, a dog had trusted him to look closely, and he had failed. This stranger had trusted a story about him, and he hated how badly he wanted to be worthy of it. Aaron shifted the interview back to facts. For the next 40 minutes, Lena drew Iron Ridge 3 times. The first map shook too much to be useful. The second had kennel rows but no distances. The third was clearer. Main gate off Quarry Spur Road, gravel yard, office trailer to the right, feed shed to the left, 2 kennel rows behind a windbreak, storage building with a wooden floor, old walk-in cooler, generator shed, back service track through the trees. There's a hatch here, Lena said, tapping the storage building. Roy keeps it locked. What's under it? Jenna asked. I don't know. Jenna held her gaze. I don't, Lena said again, this time with frustration. He never let me down there. I heard dogs under it once, or maybe not under it. The building echoes. Aaron circled the hatch on the map. Cole stood farther from the table than he wanted to. The farther he stood, the more useful the map became. If he moved closer, he would see only Sable in the last kennel. Torn ear, white toe, too weak to stand. He would stop thinking about gates, warrants, approach roads, officer safety, animal control staging, chain of custody. He would become the man who moved because staying still hurt. So he stayed where he was. Pastor Will came back downstairs with coffee no one had asked for. He set a cup near Lena and one near Aaron. Then he looked at Cole and, without comment, set a third on the windowsill closest to him. The gesture did what words might have ruined. Cole picked up the cup. His hands were steady. Lena gave the last piece near 9 p.m. The road's open, she said. Aaron looked up. What road? Quarry Spur. Snowplow cleared it this morning. Damon was waiting on that. He said if the road opened, they'd move Sable and some others before tomorrow night. The room changed. Not loudly. No one jumped up, no one shouted, but every person seemed to sit closer to the edge of their own body. Aaron closed the notebook. Say that again. Lena did. This time Aaron recorded it. Jenna stepped away and made a call to her supervisor. Maeve called the state animal welfare contact she had saved under a name Cole could not see. Pastor Will took Lena's empty cup with the quiet focus of a man who understood that usefulness sometimes meant washing dishes while other people built a case. Cole walked to the bottom of the stairs. He needed air. He made it up 3 steps before Aaron spoke behind him. "Cole," he stopped. "Don't." Cole looked back over his shoulder. "You don't know what I'm going to do." Aaron's expression was flat. "I know you're 3 steps closer to the door than you were 10 seconds ago. I was getting air. Then get it through a window." Cole turned fully. For a second, the 2 men faced each other across the basement steps, one with a badge on his chest and anger under it, the other with a notebook in his hand and the irritating steadiness of a man who refused to mistake urgency for permission. "We have a location," Cole said. "We have a witness statement, corroborating evidence, and a ticking clock," Aaron said. "That is not the same as a legal entry. If they move her, if we go wrong, Damon's attorney has a gift-wrapped argument. Roy gets warned, records vanish, and every dog there becomes harder to protect." The words were true. Cole hated every one of them. The basement door opened above them before he could answer. Captain Graham Holt came down the stairs, carrying snow on his shoulders and command in the way he did not hurry. He was in his early 50s, broad through the chest, but softening a little at the middle, with close-cropped gray hair and a face made stern by responsibility rather than ego. He had been Cole's captain for 6 years and had never once raised his voice when a quieter sentence would do more damage. He took in the room quickly. Lena at the table, Aaron with the notebook, Jenna on the phone, Maeve writing medical notes, Cole on the stairs, exactly where a man went when he had almost convinced himself movement was the same as help. Holt looked at Cole. "You can help because you know dogs," he said. "You do not get to turn this into penance with a badge." No one moved. Cole felt the sentence strike the place Aaron had already aimed at, but Holt had more rank behind it and less history to soften it. "I know," Cole said. Holt shook his head once. "Not good enough." Cole looked at him. Holt came down the last step. "Say what you are agreeing to." Cole's jaw worked. Then he said it. "I assist the investigation. I don't run it. I don't go to Iron Ridge without authorization. I don't contact suspects. I don't approach the property alone. I follow Aaron's lead on the criminal case and Jenna's lead on animal handling." Jenna, still on the phone, pointed at him as if marking that line for the record. Holt nodded. "Better." Aaron looked back at the table. "We need the warrant package. They built it piece by piece. Cole's exterior camera footage, the partial SUV plate, the false business card and non-existent nonprofit records, the website created 6 weeks earlier, the invalid veterinarian name, Maeve's medical report on the puppies, age, condition, blue mark, separation from mother likely recent, Jenna's custody documentation, the torn leather strip and note, Lena's recorded statement, the maps, the urgency created by Quarry Spur Road reopening. No single piece was enough. Together the stack began to hold weight. Cole helped where he could. He marked distances on the map from memory of patrol calls along Quarry Spur. He identified where winter runoff made the shoulder dangerous. He listed the safest staging point for animal transport without line of sight to the main gate. Then he stopped when his help started becoming control. That was new. It did not feel noble. It felt like standing in cold water while everyone else got to move. At 11:37 p.m., the judge signed the emergency search warrant. The news arrived not with music, not with a dramatic knock, but as a message on Aaron's phone. He read it twice, then looked up. "We have it." For 1 second, nobody spoke. Then Jenna exhaled, Maeve closed her eyes, and Lena covered her face with both hands again. Pastor Will placed a gentle hand on the back of her chair, but said nothing. Cole stood near the basement window. Outside, snow fell lightly through the church's yellow security light. Each flake appeared, shone for a breath, then vanished into the dark. Inside, beside a portable heater, Bishop slept in a small covered basket Maeve had brought from the clinic, because she did not trust the puppy to wait out a crisis without supervision. Mabel and Tucker were curled beside him, warm and breathing, unaware that adults had spent the evening building a legal bridge toward the mother they could not yet reach. Cole looked at Bishop. The puppy's folded ear hid the blue mark. Somewhere north of the frozen lake, past a road newly cleared through the pines, Sable was still alive. For tonight, that was not comfort. It was a deadline. The search moved before sunrise. No sirens, no flashing parade of lights, no hard charge through the snow like something built for television. The convoy left Briar Falls in silence, tires whispering over plowed roads that still shone with ice beneath the powder. The eastern sky had not opened yet. Above the lake, the last stars held stubbornly over the black line of pines, while a pale winter blue gathered slowly behind them. Cole Mercer rode in the second vehicle, not the first. That detail mattered more than he wanted it to. Detective Aaron Vale sat in the passenger seat of the lead sheriff's SUV, with the warrant in a folder on his lap. Captain Holt had made the chain of command clear before they rolled out. Aaron controlled the legal entry. Sheriff's deputies secured people. Jenna Pike directed animal handling once the scene was safe. State investigator Nora Leith would document conditions and evidence. Dr. Maeve Callahan would stage half a mile back with medical supplies, heat blankets, fluids, and the kind of stare that could make grown men obey without a badge. Cole was there because he knew dogs, not because this was his case, not because the puppies had been left on his porch, not because Bishop had rested his chin on his finger. He repeated that to himself as the trees thickened around the road. He wore winter patrol gear over his dark uniform. Navy parka, tactical vest, gloves, radio mic, clipped high near his shoulder. His black wristwatch sat tight at his left wrist, hidden under the cuff but felt with every pulse. In the back of the vehicle, 2 animal control officers checked slip leads and crates. Nobody talked much. Snowbanks rose on both sides of Quarry Spur Road, where the plow had cut through overnight. Beyond them, the forest stood packed and dark, spruce and pine bent under white. The morning looked clean. That was the insult of it. The world could put on a fresh coat of snow over almost anything. Jenna's voice came through the radio from the vehicle behind them. Animal transport ready. Medical staging in place. Maeve's voice followed, dry and awake in the way only irritation could make her. Tell anyone who needs to be bitten by a frightened dog to do paperwork first. Aaron glanced back through the windshield at Cole's vehicle. Cole could not see his face clearly, but he could imagine the look. Stay steady. He had heard it all night without anyone saying it. Iron Ridge Canine Training appeared at the end of a narrow road lined with snow-heavy brush. A wooden sign hung crooked between 2 posts. The lettering was faded but still legible. Iron Ridge Canine Training, Working Dogs, Sissikic, Obedience. From a distance, the place did not look like evil. It looked tired. A chain-link fence, a gravel yard scraped open by a plow, 2 low kennel rows behind a windbreak, a white office trailer with a porch light still burning, a storage building to the left, a feed shed, a few training obstacles half buried in snow, the kind of things that might have looked legitimate in a brochure if the camera angle was generous. That was what made Cole's stomach tighten. Bad places did not always wear darkness honestly. Sometimes they wore faded signs and business licenses nobody had checked lately. The vehicles stopped before the main gate. Deputies moved into position with quiet efficiency. Aaron stepped out first, warrant folder in hand. Cole got out after him and stayed where he had been told to stay. Behind him, Jenna walked to the staging point, with 2 animal control officers, both bundled in county jackets. One was a young man named Luis, nervous but careful. The other was Denise, older, compact, and steady, carrying a crate as if it were an extension of her body. Nora Leith, the state investigator, adjusted a body camera at her chest and lifted a digital camera from her bag. She was in her 40s, narrow-faced, with silver blonde hair tucked under a black beanie and eyes that made every object seem already entered into evidence. Aaron reached the gate. "Sheriff's office," he called, voice firm but not theatrical. "We have a search warrant. Open the gate and step out where we can see your hands." For a breath, nothing moved. Then the office trailer door opened. Damon Kessler appeared, wearing a charcoal fleece vest over a clean shirt, as if visitors had arrived too early for a scheduled meeting. His hair was combed. His expression was composed. Even at dawn, he looked like a man prepared to explain away anything. "Detective," he said, spreading his hands slowly. "There must be a misunderstanding." Aaron did not answer with emotion. He lifted the warrant, opened the gate. Damon's eyes moved once past Aaron, across the vehicles, over Jenna, over the deputies, and finally landed on Cole. There was recognition there now, not fear, calculation. "I run a licensed training facility," Damon said. "We handle working breeds. People unfamiliar with the dogs sometimes misunderstand the environment." "Gate," Aaron repeated. A second figure moved near the feed shed. Roy Arlen. He stepped backward first, then turned as if he meant to disappear behind the building. A deputy moved before he got 3 steps. Roy stopped with visible effort, hands rising, jaw tight. The key ring at his belt swung once and went still. Cole watched the keys. Jenna watched the dogs. The moment the gate opened, the kennel rows erupted. The sound struck the morning hard. Not one bark, not a wall of noise. Many different voices layered together. Sharp alarm, hoarse warning, desperate calling, fearful yelps cut short by panic. The sound rolled over the yard and bounced off the trailer and the trees until the whole place seemed to shake with it. Cole's body wanted forward. He did not move. Aaron served the warrant. Deputies secured Damon and Roy without spectacle. Nora began filming the yard, the signs, the gate, the visible kennel conditions. Jenna waited until Aaron gave the all-clear for the first row. Only then did she turn to Cole. "You're with me," she said. "You read dogs. I open doors." "We both go slow." Cole nodded. "Say it," Jenna said. He looked at her. She did not blink. "We go slow," he said. "Good." They entered the first kennel row. The smell reached him before the sight settled fully. Wet fur, old bedding, disinfectant used too late and too thin, metal, fear, the sourness of places washed for inspection instead of care. Cole kept his breathing even. Dogs knew when a human brought storm into the room. The first dog was an older male German shepherd. Black saddle faded with gray around the muzzle. He stood stiffly at the back of the run, not barking, only watching. His ribs showed under his coat. His ears were up, but his tail stayed low. Cole crouched sideways instead of facing him straight on. "Hey, old man," he said quietly. "Nobody needs anything from you yet." Louise stood behind Jenna with a lead. Jenna opened the latch only after the dog had time to watch all 3 of them breathe. The shepherd did not come out at first. Cole looked at the floor instead of the dog's eyes. After a long moment, the dog stepped forward. One paw, then another. Louise looped the lead, hands shaking only a little. The dog allowed it and walked out with a dignity that made Cole's throat tighten. They moved from run to run. A young female barked until her voice cracked, then backed away when the latch clicked. Denise covered part of the gate with a towel to reduce the visual pressure. Jenna spoke in low, practical phrases, nothing babyish. Cole lifted one injured dog only when Jenna told him to, bracing the animal's weight close to his chest while it trembled. His muscles remembered how to carry a working dog. His mind remembered Ranger. He pushed the memory aside, not down. There was a difference. Down was where things rotted. Aside was where they could still be seen without steering the hands. Halfway down the row, Roy started talking from near the deputies. "You don't know these dogs," he called. "They need structure. They need firm handling." One of the dogs flinched at his voice. Cole saw it. So did Jenna. She did not look at Roy. "Keep moving," she said. Cole obeyed. That was the strange part. Obedience had once meant pushing a dog past safety. Here, obedience meant not letting Roy's voice pull him into anger. At the end of the first row, Jenna paused and looked toward the second. The far row, the one Lena had marked. Cole felt the entire morning narrow to a strip of snow between 2 kennels. Aaron approached from the office trailer, face controlled. Records in plain view. Nora's documenting. "We found transport crates in the shed. No one goes into the storage building yet." "Far row?" Jenna asked. "Clear for animal extraction," Aaron said. His eyes shifted to Cole. "You still with us?" Cole knew what he was really asking. Yes. They crossed the yard. Snow had been trampled into gray slush between the buildings. The sky was lightening now, a cold, clean blue spreading above the pines. Somewhere behind the trailer, Damon was speaking to a deputy, his voice polished but thinner than before. Cole no longer listened. The last kennel on the left held Sable. For a second, nobody opened the gate. She lay on damp bedding near the back wall, a dark sable German shepherd with a coat that should have been beautiful, but now looked flattened by exhaustion. Her left ear had a torn edge. One back foot showed a small white toe against the gray concrete. Her ribs moved too fast. Her eyes were open, watching, not wild, not surrendered, only watching every hand that might become a threat. Cole lowered himself outside the run. Jenna stayed beside him, one hand near the latch, not touching it yet. "That's her," Jenna said softly. Cole did not answer. Sable's nose moved once. Her head lifted a fraction. Cole reached into the inner pocket of his parka and removed the small cloth Maeve had prepared in a sealed bag. Bishop had slept on it for 20 minutes before they left the clinic. Maeve had packed it with medical gloves and an instruction delivered like a warning. Do not make a drama out of it. Let the scent do what scent does. Cole opened the bag and held the cloth near the mesh. He did not push it through. Sable's body changed before she moved. Her eyes sharpened. Her breathing caught, then quickened. She pushed her muzzle toward the fence, weakly at first, then with sudden purpose. Her nose touched the metal near the cloth. A sound came from her chest, so low it was almost not a sound at all. Jenna looked away for 1 second. Cole understood why. This was not evidence in the way a card or a map was evidence. This was a mother finding proof that the world had not taken everything. Cole kept his voice low. They're warm, he said. Mabel's bossy. Tucker complains. Bishop thinks too much for someone who can't walk straight. Sable pressed her nose harder to the fence. They're waiting. Jenna's hand moved to the latch. Ready? She asked. Cole almost said yes too fast. Then he looked at Sable's legs. The tremor in them, the way her body needed time to understand that an open door did not always mean a demand. Give her a second, he said. Jenna glanced at him. Something like approval passed across her face. The yard behind them continued. Radios, footsteps, camera clicks. Damon's voice trying to regain control, Roy's silence growing heavier. But at the last kennel, time folded down to 1 dog, 1 door, and a strip of cloth carrying the scent of 3 living puppies. When Jenna opened the latch, she did it slowly. Sable did not rush. She placed 1 paw forward and stopped. Her legs shook. She lowered her head, sniffed the threshold, then looked at Cole. He did not reach. He did not call. He waited. Another paw, then another. When Sable crossed out of the kennel, the wet concrete gave way to snow-dusted gravel under her feet. She swayed once. Cole shifted, but Jenna's hand touched his sleeve. Wait! He did. Sable caught herself. Then she stepped close enough to touch her nose to Cole's glove. Only once. A question, not gratitude. Then she turned toward the yard entrance, as if every part of her had already left the facility and was traveling toward the 3 pups she could not see. Jenna secured the lead gently. We've got her, she said into the radio. Adult female, weak but ambulatory. Maeve needs to see her now. Maeve's voice came back at once. Bring her steady, not fast. Cole almost smiled at that. Almost. They had moved Sable 3 careful steps toward the yard when a sound came from the storage building. A scrape, faint, then another. The kind of sound a person could mistake for settling wood if there were no animals on the property. Sable froze. Every hair along her back lifted. Jenna turned her head toward the building. Cole saw Aaron do the same. Roy spoke too quickly. Old floorboards. That building's junk storage. Nothing in there. Damon's face changed. Only a little, but enough. Aaron raised 1 hand. Everyone hold. Nora lifted her camera and moved toward the storage building with a deputy beside her. Jenna passed Sable's lead to Denise, who kept the dog far enough back not to stress her. Cole stayed where he was because Aaron had not told him to move. That, too, mattered. The scrape came again. This time it carried a thin sound under it, a whine. Not Sable, not any dog in the visible rows. Aaron looked at Roy. Roy's mouth closed. The storage building was a low structure with weathered boards and a sliding door warped by moisture. A deputy opened it after Aaron confirmed it fell within the warrant's scope. Inside were feed sacks, broken training equipment, old tarps, and a wood floor patched in places with newer boards. Nora filmed everything. Cole stood at the doorway and did not step across the threshold until Aaron looked back and nodded. Point out anything, Lena described. Cole scanned the floor. There, near the rear wall, half covered by a rubber mat and 2 cracked plastic crates, was a square outline in the boards, newer hinges. A hasp block, scrape marks around the edge, a hatch. Aaron's face went still in the way it did when emotion had no place to stand. Nora, recording, she said. Jenna came up behind Cole, eyes dark. Roy said, You need a separate warrant for that. Aaron looked at him. It's on the premises described in the warrant, in the building identified by the witness, with audible animal distress underneath it. Roy had no answer. Damon tried. This is being blown out of proportion. We isolate difficult dogs for safety. Working breeds are not house pets. They require. From below the hatch came another sound, weak, multiple voices rising and falling over one another in the dark. Damon stopped talking. For the first time since Cole had met him, the polished surface slipped. Not all the way, just enough to reveal that he knew exactly what was under the floor. Aaron turned to the deputy with bolt cutters. "Cut it!" The metal snapped with a flat, final sound. Cole felt it through his teeth. Nora stepped closer, filming the lock, the hasp, the hatch, every motion. Jenna pulled on heavier gloves. Aaron lifted one hand to hold everyone back until the camera had the angle and the air settled. Cole looked once toward the yard. Sable stood with Denise, trembling but upright, nose lifted toward the storage building. She had heard them too, the hidden dogs, the ones Lena had not been allowed to see, the ones paperwork had buried under wood and silence. Aaron reached for the hatch handle. "Slow," Jenna said quietly. Cole did not know whether she was speaking to Aaron, to him, or to the whole morning. The hatch lifted. Cold, stale air rose from below, and from the darkness underneath came the sound of more than one dog, waiting where no clean sign at the gate had ever admitted they existed. The hatch opened like a mouth that had been shut for too long. Stale air rose first. It carried damp wood, old bedding, cheap cleaner, and the sour weight of a place no sunlight had reached in a long time. The smell made Luis turn his face aside. Denise muttered something under her breath. Jenna Pike did not move except to tighten her grip on the flashlight. Cole Mercer stood at the edge of the storage building, one boot on the warped floorboards, one hand near the hatch frame. Below them the space was shallow but wide, more like a crawl space than a proper room. Wooden steps led down at a steep angle. In the light from Nora Lythe's camera, Cole saw crates first, 4 of them, close together, too close. Beside them sat plastic bins with snap lids, a torn tarp, several collars with tags removed, and a metal shelf stacked with bottles whose labels had gone yellow at the edges. One of the crates shifted. A young German shepherd inside threw himself backward from the light, not far enough to hurt himself badly, but hard enough that the crate rattled against the wall. Luis took one step forward. Cole raised a hand. "Wait." The word came out quiet, but everyone heard it. The young officer froze. Below, the dog panted fast, teeth showing, eyes wide and unfocused. Fear had filled the crate so completely there was no room left for understanding. Cole lowered himself to one knee near the hatch, careful not to lean over the dog like a threat. "Fear moves faster than we do," he said. "Let it slow down." Jenna gave him one quick look. It was not praise. It was permission. Nora kept filming. Aaron Vale stood behind her, with the warrant folder tucked under one arm. His face controlled in the way a good detective learned to control it when evidence stopped being paper and started breathing. Damon Kessler had finally stopped talking. Roy Arlen had stopped looking at exits and started looking at the hatch. That told Cole more than any denial could have. Jenna clipped a flashlight to the edge of the opening, angling it away from the dogs, so the beam hit the wall instead of their eyes. Denise passed down a towel. Cole took it and draped part of it along the inside edge of the hatch to soften the hard square of light. "Maeve," Jenna said into the radio, "we have 4 below, 3 Shepherd type, 1 Malinois mix. Crated, poor condition, 1 highly reactive to light and proximity. We may need medical support closer." Maeve's answer came crisp through static. "I'm moving to the outer yard. Do not sedate unless necessary. Do not rush because people are watching." Nobody argued. Cole spoke toward the dog below, not using nonsense comfort, not using command voice. "Easy. No one's coming down on top of you." The dog snapped at the crate door, then retreated again. His black and tan coat was dull. One ear stood, the other folded halfway from stress or old injury. His body looked young, maybe not even 2. Too young to have learned that much fear. A second dog lay curled in the crate beside him, a smaller Sable female with her face turned to the wall. The third German shepherd watched with a strange stillness that worried Cole more than barking would have. The Malinois mix trembled so hard, the metal door clicked in tiny beats. Jenna crouched beside Cole. "We do the quiet one first if she lets us," she said. Cole nodded. "Less energy, less risk. Denise? Ready." The rescue took 15 minutes before the first crate came up. 15 minutes of no drama that felt harder than drama. Denise descended 2 steps, then stopped. She let the small Sable female smell the towel through the crate. Jenna talked Luis through shifting the crate angle without scraping it. Cole kept his voice low, a thread in the room. No promises, no urgency, just sound that did not demand anything. When the crate finally lifted, the female inside did not fight. She only pressed herself as flat as she could and trembled. Maeve met them outside the storage building and knelt in the snow with a heat blanket ready. She did not say poor thing. She did not make the dog into a performance. She only checked gums, breathing, hydration, and temperature, her hands exact and gentle. "1 out," Jenna said. "3 to go," Aaron answered. Cole looked down into the hatch. The young male still stared at him from behind the crate door. This was the moment his body wanted to push. The old instinct whispered that hesitation cost lives, that every second spent waiting was another second of suffering. That courage meant motion. But Ranger had followed motion once. Ranger had paid for it. Cole rubbed his gloved thumb once against the edge of his watch, felt the familiar scratch through the leather, then put his hand flat against the floorboards. Not today. They brought the Malinois mix up next. It took longer. The dog panicked when the crate shifted, and Luis nearly pulled too fast. Cole's voice cut through the room, still low but firm. "Stop." Luis froze again, red-faced with embarrassment. Cole did not shame him. "Back the crate down half an inch. Let him feel the floor again." Luis did. The rattling slowed. Jenna added the towel over the front, making a small dark cave instead of a bright trap. When they lifted again, they moved as one body. Slow, balanced, no sudden tilt. Outside, the Malinois mix pressed its nose into Maeve's sleeve and then seemed surprised that nothing bad followed. The third dog, the still one, was carried up with the crate unopened. Maeve took one look and called for fluids and a warmer transport. That left the young male, the one whose fear had teeth. Cole did not romanticize that. Fear could still hurt people. A frightened dog was not a symbol when a hand got too close. He had learned that long before Ranger, before Bishop, before guilt sharpened every choice. Jenna looked at him. "We can sedate." "Maybe. You think we can move him without it? I think we can give him a chance to show us." Maeve, standing in the doorway now, said, "1 chance, not 5. Pride is not a treatment plan." Cole nodded. He descended only 1 step, then he sat. Not fully down in the crawl space, not close enough to crowd the crate. Just lower than before, shoulder turned, eyes away. He placed one gloved hand on the floor, palm down, several feet from the crate. The dog lunged once. The crate banged. Cole did not pull away. A sound moved through the watching people, the kind of collective breath humans made when their bodies wanted to help and had been told not to. Cole stayed still. The dog barked once, hoarse and broken, then panted. "Good," Cole said quietly. "You told me." Jenna passed down a slip lead attached to a pole, not to force, only to guide if the dog allowed the door to open. Denise held the crate steady. Luis held the towel, his hands steadier now. Maeve stood above with medication prepared in case the whole plan tipped toward danger. Cole spoke again. No command, no chase, just a door. The young male stared at him. Slowly, almost invisibly, his breathing changed. Not calm, but less lost. When Jenna opened the crate door a few inches, the dog struck forward and caught Cole's glove. Teeth closed on leather. Luis flinched. Cole did not. Pain sparked across his hand, dulled by the glove, but real enough. He kept his arm still, not yanking, not shouting, not turning one terrified bite into a fight. The dog held for 2 seconds, then released. Cole exhaled. "There," he whispered. "You got to say no." Something in the dog's face shifted, not trust. That would have been too neat. But the first crack in panic was sometimes only the discovery that no punishment followed. Jenna slipped the lead gently when the dog's head turned. Denise lifted the crate as Cole guided without pulling. Maeve stepped in as soon as he cleared the hatch. When the dog reached open air, he collapsed into the snow on shaking legs. Then, before anyone could stop him, he pressed his forehead against Cole's knee, only for a second. Then he turned away again, ashamed of needing what he had just found. Cole looked down at his bitten glove. The leather was marked, but not torn through. Jenna saw it. "You okay?" "Yeah." Maeve narrowed her eyes. That is often the first lie of the day. He didn't break skin. He still made a point. Cole looked at the young dog being wrapped in a blanket. So did we. The crawl space became evidence after the animals were safe. Nora and Aaron documented everything. The crates, the dry bowls, the collars with identifying tags removed. The medication, the transport lists, the breeding notes, the names of facilities in Wisconsin and North Dakota, invoice numbers, vehicle descriptions, and a set of folders that made Damon finally ask for an attorney. Aaron's reply was professional and immediate. Cole did not listen to the rest. He stood in the yard while Sable was loaded into Maeve's medical transport. The mother dog had weakened again. The short walk from the kennel row, the smell of hidden dogs, the cold morning, all of it had taken what little strength she had gathered. Denise and Jenna moved her with a soft sling beneath her body, not forcing her into a heroic posture she did not have energy for. Sable turned her head once toward the storage building, then toward Cole. He held up Bishop's cloth from a distance. Her nose moved. That was all, enough to remind her, enough to hurt. Lena arrived after the property was secured, brought by a deputy and Pastor Will. She stepped out of the vehicle near the outer gate and stopped as if the whole facility had risen from the ground to accuse her. No one let her wander. No one pushed her forward. Aaron needed her to identify locations from a safe distance, and that was all. She saw Sable being loaded, her face folded. "I'm sorry," she said, but not to anyone who could answer in words. Maeve paused beside the transport door. "Sorry can come later. Keep telling the truth now." Aaron, standing near Lena with notebook in hand, added, "That's the road you have left." Lena nodded. She did not ask if that road led somewhere kind. By noon, Iron Ridge had become many things at once. A crime scene, a rescue site, a medical staging area, a place where the clean sign at the gate no longer matched what had been found behind it. Dogs were divided carefully. The county shelter took those stable enough for intake. Maeve's clinic took Sable, the weakest dogs, and the ones needing immediate care. A heated barn offered by a family outside town became temporary overflow after Jenna inspected it and declared it not perfect but better than a hallway. Pastor Will opened Harbor Light Church as a supply point before anyone officially asked him. By mid-afternoon, people arrived. Not crowds, useful people. A woman from the diner brought towels washed in unscented detergent. A retired teacher brought unopened dog food and then stayed to sort labels. 2 high school boys carried crates from pickup beds without being told twice. An old man in a seed company hat handed Jenna an envelope and said, "For medicine," then left before anyone could make gratitude complicated. Briar Falls did not become a postcard of goodness. Nobody did. But the town began to do what towns sometimes did best when they stopped talking about caring and started moving chairs. Cole drove behind Maeve's transport to the clinic. Sable was brought inside last. Not because she mattered less, because Maeve refused to let sentiment outrun assessment. The clinic had been rearranged into controlled chaos. Mabel, Tucker, and Bishop were in a warming box in the small recovery room. The 4 dogs from under the hatch occupied the larger treatment area. Volunteers were told where not to stand. Jenna handled intake forms with the ferocity of a border collie sorting sheep. Aaron came and went with evidence signatures. Pastor Will delivered supplies and somehow kept people from hovering. Cole stood outside the recovery room door while Maeve examined Sable. He could see part of the dog through the glass. Dark sable coat, torn ear, ribs moving too quickly, one white toe visible against the towel. Her eyes were open, but not settled. Every time a puppy made a sound from the other room, her head shifted. Cole's hand rested on the doorframe. Maeve looked up from the exam table and saw him. "You want the beautiful moment," she said. He did not deny it. "I want them alive for it." Cole let his hand fall from the frame. "Tell me what to do. Stand there and don't make this about you." It should have stung. It didn't. Not the way it would have before. He stood there. Maeve treated fever, dehydration, and infection. She checked Sable's milk supply. She let the dog rest. She made Cole wait while the clinic moved around him, and the afternoon light shifted across the floor. Mabel woke twice and objected to the delay with tiny outrage. Tucker complained at being handled. Bishop slept, then lifted his head whenever footsteps passed. It was almost dusk when Maeve finally opened the recovery room door. 5 minutes, she said. No audience, no touching unless I say. If Sable stresses, we stop. Jenna brought the puppies in their lined basket. Cole followed only because Maeve pointed at him, and even then he stayed behind her. Sable lay on her side, weak but awake. Her head rested on a folded towel. For a few seconds, She did not seem to understand why the room had changed. Then Mabel woke. The little female pushed her nose up from the fleece and made a sharp, offended squeak. Tucker answered with a thin whine, as if he had been waiting his whole life to complain properly. Bishop did not make much sound. He only lifted his nose. Sable heard that smallest breath. Her ears shifted, her head turned. Slowly, with effort that made Cole stop breathing, Sable looked toward the basket. Her eyes found the three shapes inside, Mabel wriggling, Tucker pressing forward. Bishop still and silent, nose lifted toward the mother he could not yet reach. Sable did not rise. She did not have the strength. But her whole body answered before she moved at all. The torn ear came forward. The white-toed foot flexed once against the towel. Her breathing changed. And in the small recovery room, while snow began again outside Maeve's windows, Cole watched the distance between a mother and her puppies shrink to the width of one breath. Sable did not run to her puppies. She did not have the strength for anything that looked like a miracle. Dr. Maeve Callahan had made that clear before she opened the recovery room door. The clinic had been quieted down as much as possible. Volunteers were sent to the front. The hallway lights were dimmed. Jenna Pike stood near the wall with a clipboard, not because paperwork mattered more than the moment, but because the moment mattered enough to be protected properly. A small camera on a tripod recorded the medical interaction for the file. No crowd, no applause, no one turning pain into a story before the dogs themselves had time to breathe inside it. Cole Mercer stood behind Maeve, close enough to help if asked, far enough not to become the center of something that did not belong to him. Sable lay on the padded mat with her head raised. Her dark sable coat was still dull from illness and hard days. Her torn left ear angled toward the basket Jenna carried in both hands. One white toe flexed against the towel as if the rest of her body had not yet received permission to move. Maeve looked at Jenna. "Set them down there, slow." Jenna lowered the basket to the floor. Mabel woke first, because Mabel seemed personally insulted by any delay in the universe. The little female pushed her head out of the fleece and squeaked sharply toward the shape of her mother. Tucker followed, wiggling with a soft, offended whine, nose searching left and right. Bishop did not cry. He lifted his head, that was all. The smallest puppy raised his soft black muzzle and held still, the blue mark in his right ear partly hidden by folded fur. Sable heard him. Cole saw the change move through her before she moved toward them. Her eyes sharpened, her breath hitched. The room seemed to narrow around that tiny sound, and the mother who had carried herself through too much cold, too much fear, too much waiting. Maeve stayed crouched beside Sable, one hand ready near the lead but not holding tight. "Easy," she whispered. "You can look first." Sable pushed herself up slowly. Her legs trembled so hard Cole almost stepped forward. He stopped before Maeve had to tell him. Sable took one step, then another, head low, nose working. Mabel met her at the edge of the basket as if filing a complaint. Sable touched her nose to the puppy's head. Mabel quieted. Tucker pressed forward next, clumsy and urgent. Sable breathed him in, nose moving along his back and face, checking what no human report could tell her. Then came Bishop. For one long second, he stayed still while Sable lowered her head over him. Her nose paused at the blue mark in his ear. She smelled it, then smelled his chest, his tiny paws, the place where Cole's hand had held him through feedings and fear. Bishop lifted his chin. He rested it against Sable's muzzle. The sound that came from her was low and worn, barely more than breath. Not a howl, not anything human grief could claim. It was simply the sound of a living creature discovering that what had been taken had not disappeared from the world. Cole stepped back until his shoulder touched the wall. He had thought this would give him relief. It did not. Not in the clean way people like to imagine. It did not erase Ranger's limp. It did not erase the logging road or the command Cole should not have given. It did not erase the dogs under the hatch, the bite on his glove, Lena's shaking hands, or the way Sable had trembled at the kennel door before choosing to step out. What it gave him was smaller and more useful. It showed him that some things could be returned without pretending they had never been broken. Maeve watched Sable settle around the puppies and finally let out a breath of her own. 5 more minutes, she said, though her voice suggested she would fight time itself if it tried to take them sooner. Jenna wrote something on the clipboard. Cole looked at her. She shrugged. Medical observation. You wrote Mabel is loud. It's clinically relevant. Tucker pushed his face beneath Sable's chin. Bishop stayed close to her muzzle, quiet as ever, but his body had loosened in a way Cole had not seen before. Even asleep he had seemed to be searching. Now, for the first time, he looked found. The next days did not arrive gently. They arrived in forms, court calls, intake charts, custody questions, and meetings held in rooms that smelled of coffee and wet boots. Damon Kessler and Roy Arlen were charged. The records from the storage building pulled the case beyond Briar Falls almost immediately. Aaron Vale spent long hours with Nora Leith and investigators from outside the county, building timelines from transport sheets, bank records, phone logs, and the careful lies Damon had hidden inside ordinary business language. Cole heard pieces of it, not all. That was another boundary he had to accept. Lena Brooks cooperated with the prosecutor. She gave names, dates, driving routes, and the kind of small details people remembered when they had spent months trying not to notice too much. She was not celebrated. She was not thrown away either. Pastor Will sat with her through the first meeting with her court-appointed attorney, and Aaron told her the same thing every time she asked what would happen next. Keep telling the truth. Don't decorate it. Don't shrink it. Just tell it. Lena nodded each time as if the road had rocks in it, but at least now she could see where it was. Sable improved slowly. Too slowly for sentiment, fast enough for hope. Maeve allowed the puppies to nurse only under supervision at first. Sable needed medication, rest, measured food, warmth, and more patience than anyone outside veterinary medicine understood. She watched every person who approached the basket, but she did not snap. If someone moved too quickly, she placed her body between the hand and the puppies. If they slowed, she let them exist. Cole understood that language. He spoke it now in return. No reaching without being invited. No command where quiet would do. No taking trust and calling it obedience. On the fourth day after the rescue, a state animal welfare official came to Maeve's clinic with 2 folders and a face that looked tired before the conversation began. Her name was Ellen Marsh. She was in her late 40s with a gray wool coat, practical boots, and kind eyes that did not make her job any easier. She had driven down from Duluth after visiting 3 other temporary animal placements connected to the case. These dogs are evidence animals, Ellen said at the small conference table in Maeve's office. Sable and the litter are part of an active criminal case. I understand the medical concerns, but chain of custody matters. Maeve sat across from her with reading glasses low on her nose. Medical stability matters too. I agree. Stress affects milk supply, transport affects fever, separation affects recovery. I read your report, then read it again slower. Aaron coughed into his coffee. Jenna did not bother hiding a smile. Cole sat at the end of the table, hands folded, saying nothing because this was not his part yet. Ellen looked at him anyway. You're the officer who found the puppies. Yes, Mom. And you're requesting supervised foster placement for one of them? Cole's mouth went dry. Only if approved. That is not what I asked. No, he said. I'm requesting it. Maeve leaned back slightly, as if satisfied he had finally used the right verb. Ellen flipped through the folder. There are concerns. You are connected to the discovery. You are also law enforcement in the case jurisdiction. If this becomes adoption later, defense counsel could argue emotional bias or mishandling. Then build restrictions, Aaron said. Daily logs. No unsupervised public access. No media. Medical checks through Dr. Callahan. Animal control oversight. Evidence photos before transfer. Written chain of custody. Jenna slid a form forward. Already drafted. Ellen looked at it, then at Maeve, then at Cole. There is also the question of why. The room went quiet. Cole knew what she meant. Heat, food, space, transport, experience. Those were answers to how, not why. He had spent most of his adult life avoiding why. Maeve pushed a blank legal pad toward him without a word. It was almost cruel. He would have preferred a dangerous road, a locked gate, a dog too frightened to leave a crate. Those things required action. Paper asked for honesty with nowhere to put his hands. Cole picked up the pen. At first, he wrote the safe things. His cabin had heat. He had no other animals. His schedule could be modified temporarily. He had experience handling working breeds. He could transport Bishop to Maeve's clinic daily. He understood evidence restrictions. He would comply with animal control supervision. All true, all thin. He stopped. The pen hovered above the page. On the other side of the wall, faint but clear, Mabel complained about something. Tucker answered. Bishop made no sound Cole could hear, but Cole found himself listening for him anyway. He crossed out the line about experience. Then he began again. I have experience with K9s, but experience is not the reason I am requesting foster placement. His handwriting stayed square and controlled, but slower now. 3 years ago, I made a decision that hurt a dog who trusted me. He survived. He retired. He is cared for. None of that changes the fact that I asked more from him than I should have asked. Cole paused once. No one spoke. I am not asking to foster Bishop because I can repair that. I cannot. I am asking because Bishop is alive now. He is medically fragile, attached to routine, and responsive to calm handling. I can provide heat, structure, transport, documentation, and cooperation without using him as a way to rewrite my past. He felt the room around him, the stillness of people pretending not to listen while absolutely listening. This time, I know stopping is part of care. I know waiting is part of care. I know trust is not proof that I should push harder. Sometimes it is the reason to slow down. He set the pen down. For a moment, the page looked unbearable. Then Maeve reached over and turned it toward herself. She read it once. Her face did not soften much. Maeve's face had never wasted softness where precision would do. That sounds like the truth, she said. Annoying, isn't it? Cole looked down at his hands. Yes. Ellen read the statement next. She did not say yes that day. No one did. There were more calls, more forms, more conditions. The answer arrived in pieces over the next week and a half, each one less dramatic than Cole's body wanted and more durable because of it. Sable and the puppies were allowed to remain in Briar Falls, under medical foster supervision, rather than being transferred to a distant evidence facility. Sable stayed at Maeve's clinic until her fever cleared and her weight began to return. Mabel and Tucker would be evaluated later for placement, not rushed into anyone's arms, simply because the story made people feel generous. Bishop was approved for long-term supervised foster with Cole, not adoption, not yet. The distinction mattered. Cole signed every condition, daily logs, weekly veterinary checks, no public visits, no photographs shared outside the case file, immediate return if ordered by court, animal control access at reasonable times, evidence status preserved. Jenna placed the final copy in front of him and tapped the signature line. Congratulations, she said. You have earned the right to be micromanaged by 3 agencies and a veterinarian who believes sleep is optional. Cole signed. Sounds familiar? Police work? Puppies. Bishop came home to Cole's cabin 10 days after the rescue. He was still small, still slightly uneven, one ear folded, the blue mark fading but visible if the light caught it right. Maeve sent him with medication, feeding instructions, warming notes, emergency numbers, and a warning that if Cole got sentimental and ignored the schedule, she would repossess both the puppy and his dignity. The cabin did not become cheerful all at once. It became occupied, a crate near the stove, a washable pad by the door, a tiny collar on the counter, logs on the table, formula stains that Cole stopped resenting. Bishop slept heavily at first, then woke and searched for Cole's voice. When Cole walked across the room, the puppy tried to follow, legs unsteady, determination unreasonable. Cole learned to slow his steps. That was the beginning of something. Before the chapter of Bishop could feel too easy, Cole went back to the farm south of town. Ranger was waiting in the barn. The retired K9 stood when Cole entered, older body rising with familiar effort. The red rubber ball sat near his front paws, worn almost smooth. This time, Cole picked it up. Not far, he told himself. He tossed it only a few feet across the straw. Ranger went after it with an awkward little burst of joy, his right hind leg stiff but steady enough. He picked up the ball, turned, and came back with more pride than speed. Cole crouched before the dog reached him. Ranger dropped the ball and pressed his head against Cole's chest. Cole's hand closed in the thick fur at the dog's neck. "I should have stopped," he whispered. No answer came, no human forgiveness, no clean absolution. Ranger only leaned his weight into him, warm and alive, as if the apology had arrived late but had not arrived empty. On a clear winter morning 3 days later, Briar Falls shone under fresh snow. The sky over Lake Briar was bright and blue. Pine branches glittered. The road outside Cole's cabin had been plowed into clean white walls. Sunlight struck the frozen lake so sharply it seemed the whole town had been made from glass and breath. Cole opened the front door with a leash looped loosely in one hand. Bishop tumbled onto the porch, then stopped at the top step, small paws planted wide, nose lifted toward the cold. He wore a soft black puppy collar Jenna had approved, and Maeve had declared acceptable but not charming enough to be my problem. Cole stepped out behind him. Bishop went down one step, then stopped. He looked back. The motion was simple. A puppy checking whether the person behind him was still there. But Cole felt it pass through 3 years of winter. Once a dog had looked back at him on a snowy road, and Cole had seen only the chase ahead. Once trust had asked him to notice, and he had answered with more distance. Now Bishop waited on the porch step, ears uneven, body still too small for the world, asking nothing heroic. "Only this, are you coming?" Cole looked down at the puppy. For the first time in years, the question did not feel like judgment. It felt like an invitation. He stepped down. Bishop turned and moved forward over the new snow, leaving tiny uneven prints beside Cole's boots. After a few steps, he stopped again to make sure Cole had followed. Cole did. The lake flashed blue beyond the pines. The cabin door remained open behind them, warm light spilling across the porch. There were still court dates ahead, still reports, still dogs recovering in places across town, still a case that would take months to finish, and a past that would never become painless, simply because a puppy had come home. But Bishop looked back one more time. Cole was there, and this time, being there was enough. Sometimes healing does not arrive as a grand miracle. Sometimes it comes quietly, through a small life that needs warmth, a second chance that must be handled gently, or a moment when we finally choose to stop running from what hurt us. Cole could not undo the past with Ranger. He could not make every wrong thing right in one night. But he learned that love is not proven by rushing, controlling, or carrying everything alone. Sometimes love means slowing down, telling the truth, and staying present when someone fragile looks back to see if we are still there. May we all learn to notice the lives God places in our path, and may we have the patience to protect them with wisdom, not just emotion. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories about loyalty, courage, and quiet redemption, please subscribe and stay with us for the next one. May peace follow you into the rest of your day.